All right, let's jump right in. Today we're doing a super quick deep dive into something I know a lot of you are curious about. Hiring TensorFlow developers.
Yeah, definitely a hot topic.
I mean, you've probably heard of TensorFlow.
For sure.
It's kind of behind all those cool AI things popping up everywhere, like,
Yeah.
self-driving cars.
Oh, yeah.
Or even those image generators that make those crazy pictures.
Yeah, seen those all over.
So if you're thinking, hey, I need some of that TensorFlow magic for my project,
Right.
you're in the right place.
Absolutely.
We're going to be tapping into the expertise of the perfectdeveloper.com.
They're the best.
They're like the matchmakers for top tech talent and really cool projects.
I'd say so.
In fact, quick little side note before we dive in.
Sure.
You should absolutely check out their 5 questions tool.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's on their website.
It is
theperfectdeveloper.com.
super helpful.
It's like a 2-minute thing that helps you figure out exactly what you need when you're hiring.
Yeah. Saves a lot of headaches later. Back to TensorFlow.
Back to TensorFlow. First things first.
Shoot.
What does a TensorFlow developer actually do?
Right. Good question.
Like, how are they different from just a regular software developer?
Okay, so imagine this.
Okay,
You're building a website,
got it.
a regular software developer.
Yep.
They build the framework.
Right, the structure.
Exactly,
Clear.
the bones. But a TensorFlow developer, they come in and they're like, okay, how do we make this thing think?
Wow, okay.
They use machine learning
Right.
and algorithms
And complicated things?
to make the website actually smart.
Okay, I'll make you.
Like, they could create a system that figures out what a user likes on the site
Oh, interesting.
and then recommends products they might want to buy.
So they're the ones making those, you might also like suggestions pop up.
Exactly. That's TensorFlow in action.
So they're bringing the intelligence to the project.
Exactly. They're the brains behind the operation.
That's pretty cool.
It is.
But I imagine that takes some serious skills.
Oh, absolutely.
So what should someone actually look for when hiring a TensorFlow developer?
Well, theperfectdeveloper.com has a great list.
I bet they do.
Obviously, Python is a must.
Yeah, that's like the AI language, right?
Very much.
But they also mention calculus
Yeah.
and linear algebra.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's serious math.
It is, but it's crucial for building those complex algorithms.
So it's not just about coding.
Yep.
It's about understanding the math behind how machines learn.
Exactly. It's a whole other level.
Makes sense.
It's not all about the tech stuff, though.
Oh, right, the soft skills?
Those are important, too.
Which ones matter most for a TensorFlow developer?
Well, problem solving is huge.
I can see why.
TensorFlow is all about, uncharted territory.
Pushing the boundaries.
Right. So you need someone who can think outside the box.
Someone who doesn't freak out when things go wrong.
Exactly. Because in AI, things will go wrong.
It's all about finding solutions.
Yep, and TensorFlow developers need to be pros at that.
So let's be real for a second.
Okay, hitting the tough topics.
This all sounds amazing,
It is.
but I bet it costs a pretty penny.
Well, you're not wrong.
So what kind of salary are we talking here?
All right, let's get down to brass tacks.
Hit me with it.
Theperfectdeveloper.com gives a range
I figured.
from like $70,000 a year
Okay.
to over $170,000.
Whoa, okay, that's a pretty big difference.
It is.
So what gives?
It all depends.
On what?
Experience level, for one,
Makes sense.
where you're located,
Oh, yeah.
and what kind of project you're working on.
So there's no magic number,
Nope, it's all relative.
but knowing those factors helps, right?
Absolutely. It helps you budget realistically.
So give me an example.
Sure, like Silicon Valley.
Yeah, Tech Central?
Salaries are going to be sky high,
How high?
easily over $150,000 a year.
Wow, okay.
But a small startup,
Yeah.
they might not have that kind of cash to throw around.
Right, different budgets.
Exactly. And a big tech giant.
Like Google or something?
Yeah, they might have a totally different pay structure than, say, a non-tech company just dipping their toes into AI.
So it's really like a choose-your-own-adventure when it comes to salary.
Pretty much. It's all about finding the right fit for your specific situation.
Sounds like theperfectdeveloper.com can help sort through all that.
Absolutely. They're pros at matching companies with the right talent at the right price.
That's reassuring to hear. Okay, so let's say I've got my budget figured out.
Yep.
I'm ready to find my TensorFlow superstar.
All right, let's do it.
Where do I even begin?
That's the next big question. We'll dive into all that in part 2 of this deep dive.
So make sure you stick around to hear all about finding those TensorFlow rock stars.
It's going to be good. All right, so we've talked about what TensorFlow developers do.
And the skills they need.
Right?
And even how much they cost.
They have the big bucks.
But now, the big question.
Hit me with it.
How do I actually hire one?
Ah, the $1 million
Where
question.
do I even start?
Okay, so first things first. You got to decide what kind of hiring setup you're going for.
Like full-time, part-time?
Exactly.
What about outsourcing?
All on the table.
So this is where I get overwhelmed.
It's a lot to consider.
So many options.
Don't worry, we'll break it down.
Okay, good.
ThePerfectDeveloper.com actually has a great breakdown of this.
They seem to have everything covered.
They really do.
So let's start with full-time.
Okay, the classic approach.
That's pretty straightforward.
It is. You've got a dedicated expert all in on your project.
Part of the team.
Exactly. And that can be a huge advantage, especially with something as complex as AI.
So why wouldn't everyone just go full-time?
Well, it's a big commitment.
Financially, I'm guessing?
Yep. And in terms of management.
Makes sense. So when would part-time make more sense?
Good question. Part-time's a good option if you have a specific need.
Okay.
Or maybe it's a short-term project.
Right, so you don't need someone full-time.
Exactly. Or maybe you're just starting to explore AI.
Dipping your toes in the water?
And you're not ready for a full-time TensorFlow developer just yet.
I can see that.
Part-time can be a good way to test the waters.
And probably easier on the budget, too.
For sure, it can be more cost-effective.
Okay, what about outsourcing?
The world of agencies and freelance platforms.
That feels like a whole other beast.
It can be, but it can also be super efficient.
How so?
Well, if you need specific skills quickly,
Okay.
outsourcing can be a lifesaver.
You don't have to go through the whole hiring process yourself.
Exactly. Plus, you often get access to a global pool of talent.
So I could find a TensorFlow expert on the other side of the world who's perfect for my project.
Absolutely. And platforms like theperfectdeveloper.com,
Yeah, that may get.
they have networks of vetted developers.
So it's not just random people on the internet?
Nope, they've been vetted, checked out.
That takes a lot of the risk out of it.
It does. But of course, there are downsides to outsourcing too.
There's always a catch.
Right. Communication can be tricky.
Time zones and all that.
Exactly. And you might not have as much control over the project.
As you would with someone in-house.
Right. Security and intellectual property can also be concerns.
So it's a trade-off.
It always is. But that's where theperfectdeveloper.com can really help.
I'm sensing a theme here.
They can help you weigh those options.
Okay.
Figure out the pros and cons of each model.
Like full-time versus outsourcing.
Exactly. And ultimately, find the approach that works best for you.
For your goals, your budget, your project.
Exactly. They're like the TensorFlow hiring gurus.
That's reassuring.
Yeah.
So, let's say I've made my decision.
Okay, you've picked your path.
I found my TensorFlow developer.
You've got your rock star.
They're ready to start.
Time to make magic happen.
But how do I make sure they hit the ground running?
Onboarding.
That's the next hurdle.
It's crucial. Just as important as the hiring itself.
Why is that?
Well, it's about setting them up for success.
And not just throwing them in the deep end.
Exactly. Making them feel welcome.
Part of the team.
And making sure they can contribute right away.
Okay, so what does good onboarding look like?
So it starts with the basics.
Like what?
Making sure they have all the equipment they need.
Computer, software, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Access to the code base.
Right, the heart of the
Well,
project.
and any relevant documentation.
But they're not totally lost.
But it's more than just the technical stuff.
Okay, what else?
It's about integrating them into the team culture.
Making them feel like they belong.
Exactly. They need to understand the company's workflows
How things get done.
and the communication styles.
So it's the human element, too.
Huge. Introduce them to the team, maybe assign them a buddy.
Somebody show them the ropes.
Exactly. And make sure they have regular check-ins with their manager.
So they're not just left to figure it all out on their own.
Right. Clear communication is key.
And a supportive environment.
Absolutely. That's how you create a successful onboarding experience.
It's about providing that initial support and guidance.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
This is all making a lot of sense. I'm feeling way more prepared to handle this whole process.
Glad to hear it. But remember, even seasoned TensorFlow developers need time to adjust.
They're not robots.
Right. Patience, empathy, and a structured onboarding process.
Those are the key ingredients.
They make all the difference.
All right, so we figured out how to find our TensorFlow wizards.
Yep, and how to get them settled in.
But now what?
Now the real fun begins.
I mean, we've invested all this time and energy.
Right, you don't want them to just disappear.
Exactly. So how do we keep these amazing developers around?
That's the key, right? Retention.
It's got to be tough in the AI world.
Oh, it's a competitive market out there.
So how do we make sure our TensorFlow stars stick around?
Well, theperfectdeveloper.com, they've got some insights on this.
Of course they do.
They're all about finding the perfect match.
Right, long term.
Exactly. And they've actually found that their developers stay with projects way longer than average.
That's pretty impressive.
It is. So what's their secret?
Yeah, spill the beans.
Well, it starts with understanding what motivates these
It's
developers.
it's not just about the money,
It's part of it, sure.
but there's got to be more to it.
Right. TensorFlow developers, they're passionate about AI.
They're pushing the boundaries.
Exactly. They want to solve those big, challenging problems.
So we need to create an environment where they can do that.
Exactly. Give them opportunities to learn and grow.
Like what?
Conferences, courses, even encourage them to contribute to open source projects
So they can keep their skills sharp.
and stay on top of the latest trends.
It's not just about what they can do now.
It's about investing in their future.
Makes sense.
And that pays off big time.
How so?
Well, you keep your talented team happy.
They're less likely to jump ship.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And you create this culture of innovation.
Everyone's learning and growing together.
That's the goal.
So it's a win-win.
Absolutely. But beyond professional development,
There's got to be more.
recognition is huge.
Show them you appreciate their work.
Exactly. Celebrate their accomplishments
Make them feel valued.
like they're part of something important.
And a supportive team environment
Crucial. That's where collaboration happens.
where ideas are born.
Exactly. It all comes down to creating a space where these TensorFlow developers,
Yeah.
they feel challenged, respected, and empowered.
So they can do their best work.
And then some. That's how you build a truly thriving AI team.
This has been eye-opening. I feel like I have a much better grasp on this whole TensorFlow hiring thing.
And remember, theperfectdeveloper.com, they're your go-to resource.
They really do have it all figured out.
Whether you're just starting out,
Or you're ready to build your AI dream team.
they've got the expertise and the network to help you every step of the way.
So to all our listeners out there,
The future of AI is in your hands.
find those talented TensorFlow developers.
Build something amazing.
And don't forget to check out theperfectdeveloper.com.
And try their 5 questions tool.
It's a great starting point.
Until next time, happy hiring.